They say loyalty is the glue of a marriage. But in a Lagos hospital room last Tuesday, loyalty was a knife that killed a child. Ruth had been in labor for 19 hours when her husband chose his pride over her pulse. He called it faith. The hospital called it preventable. I call it a lesson every woman needs to hear before she signs her life away. 19 hours. In the city of Lagos, 19 hours can feel like a lifetime in traffic. But for Ruth, 19 hours was a country of pain she had been trapped inside. She heard the word that changed everything: Caesarean. It's good to be loyal, but don't be stupid. Welcome to the Afro Tales with Kemi, where African stories are told slowly, honestly, and with meaning. So sit back, open your heart, and walk with me through today's tale, told as always the African way. I am Kemi Iwalesi. She looked at her husband, Thomas. He wasn't a monster. He was a manager in a high-rise office, a man who looked like success. But as the doctor held out the digital consent form, Ruth saw a look on Thomas's face that was more frightening than cruelty. It was conviction. Thomas said, "No, it is not natural. We discussed this, Ruth. Women in the village have been doing this for generations without a knife. My mother did this 6 times. We will wait. The doctor is just looking for money." The doctor looked directly at Ruth. He saw the way she looked at her husband for permission. A habit of loyalty that had become a golden cage. The doctor, exhausted, said, "Ruth, listen to me. This is 2026. Legally, this is your body. If you sign this form, we go to the theater now. You are an educated woman. You don't need his permission to stay alive." But Ruth feared the unnatural label. She feared the whispers of her mother-in-law in the hallway. She feared the fracture of her marriage more than the failure of her organs. She turned her face to the wall. She chose silence. But there was a darker secret in that room. Outside in the hallway, the hospital administrator approached Thomas. The hospital administrator said, "Sir, you are listed as a senior partner at your firm, but you opted for the individual light plan. Your wife is not on this registry. To move her to the theater now, you need to pay the private emergency deposit upfront. 1 million naira. In the next 5 minutes, sir." The silence that followed wasn't holy. It was the sound of a man realizing his image couldn't save his family. He had spent his money on the car, the watch, and the appearance of success, but he had left the woman he promised to protect completely exposed. He used faith to mask his lack of preparation. While they argued over the bill, the heartbeat on the monitor, the one they had waited 9 months to hear, suddenly stopped. The emergency finally bypassed the permission. Ruth crashed. They wheeled her away in a frantic, bloody rush. The doors swung shut, leaving Thomas in the hallway with his shaking hands and his useless pride. Hours later, the doctor emerged. The doctor, visibly angry, said, "We did the surgery, Mr. Thomas. The very thing you spent 19 hours fighting. We had to do it anyway to save her life. But because we waited, because you stood your ground while your wife was breaking, we didn't deliver a baby. We retrieved a stillborn, a dead baby. The surgery you rejected was the only thing that could have saved your son. Now, you have the scar, you have the bill of over 2 million naira, and you have an empty crib. Your wife is also in a coma." Ruth was in a coma for 6 days. When she surfaced, she didn't ask for her husband. She asked for the truth. In the silence of that realization, the old Ruth died. She realized that a man who asks you to die for his pride does not love you. 2 years later, she stood before a room of professional women in the heart of the city. And she said, "Look at my face. I am a survivor of a war that shouldn't have been fought. They told me CS was unnatural. I am here to tell you that the sanctity of your life is greater than the sanctity of your silence. If you are listening to me today, 1. Get your own HMO. Do not let your survival depend on someone else's financial planning. 2. Know your rights. In that labor room, your signature is your power. Use it. 3. Understand that loyalty without wisdom is just a cage you built with your own hands." In 2026, we have the technology to save you, the law to protect you, and the medicine to heal you. The only thing we don't have is the power to choose for you. Sign the paper. Save your life. Loyalty shouldn't cost you your pulse. This story isn't just about Ruth. It's about the silent contracts we sign when we choose to follow a man who isn't following the facts. Whether it's an HMO he forgot to pay for, or a tradition is using to control you, remember that a grave has no room for a wedding ring. You are a partner, not a sacrifice. Have you ever been asked to choose between your loyalty and your survival? Be loyal, but for the sake of your life, don't be stupid.
When the drum speaks, Africa remembers. When stories rise,